Eternally grateful. You know, America's been forged in the battles and the fires of war. Our freedom and the freedom of innumerable others has been secured by young men and women who answered the call of history and gave everything in the service of an idea. The idea of America. It's the greatest idea in the long history of humankind. An idea that we're all created equal in the image of Almighty God. That we're all entitled to dignity, as my father would say, and respect, decency and honor, love of neighbor. They're not empty words, but the vital beating heart of our nation. And that democracy must be defended at all costs, for democracy makes all this possible. Democracy. That's the soul of America. And I believe it's a soul worth fighting for. And so do you. A soul worth dying for. Heroes who lie in eternal peace in this beautiful place, this sacred place, they believe that too. The soul of America is animated by the perennial battle between our worst instincts, which we've seen of late, and our better angels. Between me first and we the people. Between greed and generosity, cruelty and kindness, captivity and freedom. The Americans of Lexington and Concord, of New Orleans, Gettysburg, the Argonne, Iwo Jima, Normandy, Korea and Vietnam, Afghanistan and Iraq, and thousands of places in between. These Americans weren't fighting for dictators. They were fighting for democracy. They weren't fighting to exclude or to enslave. They were fighting to build and broaden and liberate. They weren't fighting for self. They were fighting for the soul of the nation, for liberty and simple fair play. Simple fair play and decency. Today, as we remember their sacrifice, we remind ourselves of our duty to their memory, to the future they fought for. We owe the honored dead a debt we can never fully repay. We owe them our whole souls. We owe them our full best efforts to perfect the union for which they died. We owe them the work of our hands and our hearts to make real the promise of a nation founded on the proposition that all of us are created equal and deserve to be treated that way throughout our lives. Democracy is more than a form of government. It's a way of being. It's a way of seeing the world. Democracy means the rule of the people. The rule of the people. Not the rule of monarchs. Not the rule of the moneyed. Not the rule of the mighty. Literally, the rule of the people. The lives of billions, from antiquity to our own hour, have been shaped by the battle between aspirations of the many and the greed of the few. Between people's right to self-determination and the self-seeking of the dictator. Between dreams of democracy and appetites for autocracy, which we're seeing around the world. Our troops have fought this battle on fields around the world, but also the battle of our time. And the mission falls to each of us, each and every day. Democracy itself is in peril, here at home and around the world. What we do now, how we honor the memory of the fallen, will determine whether or not democracy will long endure. We all take it for granted. We think we learn in school, every generation has to fight for it. But look, it's the biggest question. whether a system that prizes the individual, that bends towards liberty, that gives everybody a chance at prosperity, whether that system can and will prevail against powerful forces that wish it harm. All that we do in our common life as a nation is part of that struggle. The struggle for democracy is taking place around the world, democracy and autocracy. A struggle for decency and dignity, just simple decency. A struggle for prosperity and progress. And yes, the struggle for the soul of America itself. Folks, you all know it. Democracy thrives when the infrastructure of democracy is strong. When people have the right to vote freely and fairly and conveniently. When a free and independent press pursues the truth, founded on facts, not propaganda. When the rule of law applies equally and fairly to every citizen, regardless of where they come from, what they look like. Excuse me. Wherever Americans are, there is democracy. Churches and synagogues and mosques, neighborhoods and coffee shops and diners, bleachers at kids' baseball or soccer games, libraries and parks. Democracy begins and grows in the open heart and the impetus to come together for a common cause. And I might note parenthetically, thank you, TAPS. That's what you do. And that's where it will be preserved. For empathy is the fuel of democracy. Let me say that again. Empathy is the fuel of democracy. Our willingness to see each other, not as enemy, as neighbors, even when we disagree, to understand what the other's going through. To state the obvious, our democracy is imperfect. It always has been. But Americans of all backgrounds, races, creeds, gender identities, sexual orientations, have long spilled their blood to defend our democracy. The diversity of our country and of our armed services is and always has been an incredible strength. And generation after generation of American heroes have signed up to be part of the fight because they understand the truth that lives in every American heart. That liberation, opportunity, justice are far more likely to come to pass in a democracy than an autocracy. If every person is sacred, then every person's rights are sacred. Individual dignity, individual worth, individual sanctity, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We say those words so often, but think of it. The right to vote, the right to rise in a world as far as your talent can take you, unlimited by unfair barriers of privilege and power. Such are the principles of democracy. So how would you put these noble principles into practice? How do we do that? How do we make the idea real, or as close to real as we can make it? This nation was built on an idea. The only nation in the world built on an idea. Every other nation is built on ethnicity, geography, religion, etc. We were built on an idea, the idea of liberty, an opportunity for all. We've never fully realized that aspiration of our founding, but every generation has opened the door a little wider, and every generation has opened it wider and wider to be more inclusive, include those who've been excluded before. It's a mission handed down, generation to generation, the work of perfecting our union. In 1830, when we were a young nation, disunionists put their sectional interest ahead of the common good. A great senator, Daniel Webster, rose in the Capitol to defend the Union. To him, we're not just a collection of competing forces, but a coherent whole. His cry, first uttered just across the Potomac in the Capitol, resonates even now. He stood on the floor and he said, "Liberty and union, now and forever, one and inseparable. Liberty and union." More than 142 years later, when I first came to the United States Senate, at a time when our country was so deeply divided over Vietnam, the struggle of civil rights, the fight over women's rights, I had the notion that my first task as I stood to make my first speech on the floor of the Senate, it all of a sudden hit me. I'm standing where Daniel Webster had stood. His desk was next to mine. And I was struck by the weight of history, as corny as it sounds, by the legacy, the work we're charged to carry forward. Liberty and union, now and forever. Now as then, unity is essential to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And so remember those who gave their all in the cause of unity, in the cause of a nation that endures because of them. We must honor their sacrifice by sustaining the best of America, while honestly confronting all that we must do to make our nation fuller, freer, and more just. We must remember that we may find the light and the wisdom and, yes, the courage to move forward. In the words of that great hymn, fight as they nobly fought of old. For in remembrance lies not just our history, but our hope. Not just our solemn remembrance, but our renewed purpose. Not just our solace, but our strength. This Memorial Day, remember that not all of us are called to make the ultimate sacrifice. We all are called by God and by history and by conscience to make our nation free and fair, just and strong, noble and whole. To this battle, may we now dedicate our souls, that our work may prove worthy of the blood of our fallen. For this work, the work of democracy, is the work of our time and for all time. And if we do our duty, then ages still to come will look back on us and say that we too kept the faith. And there's nothing more important, nothing more sacred, nothing more American than keeping the faith. May God bless the United States of America, and may the light perpetually shine upon the fallen. May God bring comfort to their families, and may God protect our troops today and always. God bless you all.